Hello everybody, it's Paul Neeson with the Raw Life Health Show, and the other day I made a video about gas being one of the #1 signs something is wrong with your diet or your lifestyle or something. And I got a bunch of questions from people, but one of the most common questions I got was, if gas is a sign that something's wrong with your diet, why, if I'm on a raw food diet, do I have gas if the raw food diet is supposed to be so great? And it's an understandable question. Basically, I'm eating raw foods. Why do I have gas? Well, I've been eating raw foods a long time myself, and I have gas. The problem is, again, it's not just the food you're eating. As I was explaining, it's when you're eating it, it's how much you eat, it's the combinations you're eating it. So the first thing you want to think about is food combining. In all my books, and I recommend you get one from the internet, a food combining chart. Hang it up in your refrigerator to get an idea. For example, if you eat an orange with a grapefruit, those are both citrus fruits. They have a similar digestive time. But if you eat an orange with a banana, they no longer have a similar digestive time. And if you eat them together at the same time or one after the other, it's going to create gas in the system. And that's not the worst combination, or even something even worse. For example, if you take watermelon, which has a lot of water in it, and then you take something like almonds, or some other type of nut that doesn't have a lot of water in it, and you eat those together, again, that will produce gas in the system. So raw foods are the best food we can eat for digestion and for our health, but if we eat them in a bad combination, they're not. One of the best ways I explain food combining is, the more liquid the food has in it, the quicker it digests, and the less water it has in it, the longer it takes to digest. Well, how do we know how much liquid is actually in the food? Well, just think about a juicer. Hopefully most of you have used juicers out there. So if you juice an apple or an orange or something like this, you get a lot of liquid out of that. But if you juice something like nuts and seeds or even a banana, there's very little liquid in those things. So that's one good way, if you don't have a food combining chart, to think about what foods might go together with other foods. You know, often when I go to a function like a wedding or something, they serve a big heavy meal, and then at the end of the meal they'll serve something like cantaloupe. Even if they serve it right before the meal, still, it is not the ideal thing to eat. And people say, oh, my stomach's upset from that cantaloupe. No, it was the miscombination of the food and probably what else you were eating at the wedding that's making your stomach upset. But in the food combining chart, there are different categories for the food. We have, and I'm talking about the raw fruits and vegetables here. We have the acid category, and then we have the subacid category, and then we have the sweet category, then we have the protein category, and you want to eat things that are properly combined, and that'll help you reduce the gas. So get a food combining chart and check that out. And also we want to look at the foods if they're ripe. If you eat a food that is not ripe, whether it's picked ripe or whether it's picked unripe and you're eating anything from the store and it's not ripe, that can produce gas as well, because it makes it harder for the body to digest. For example, a banana should have black spots on it. It shouldn't be yellow, and it definitely shouldn't be green. Have no green at all in it. But that's things that people commonly do. Now, there are some natural foods that, when eaten raw, can produce gas in the system, like broccoli and cauliflower, if they are not chewed correctly. All food should be chewed correctly, and correctly means it should be liquefied in your mouth before you digest it. Because if not, your body has to do the work, your digestive tract has to do the work digesting it, and that can also produce gas in the system. So you want to liquefy it and mix it with your saliva, because there's an enzyme in your saliva that helps pre-digest the food before it gets to your body. Now, these are common things that people, especially people that recently came off the standard American diet and now they switch to something like a raw food diet, they often miss these typical things I'm saying: the food combining, the chewing their food, not eating food that's completely ripe. And these are things that, yes, it is an improvement than eating a standard American diet and doing these things, but still, you want to make sure once you get on a raw food diet, you work these things out. Eating late at night is a big one. That's why I wrote my book called The Daylight Diet. Then we get things like this. At Hippocrates Health Institute, which is a world-class health spa, where they take people with diseases and they help them get better from all sorts of conditions by giving them raw food, they have a big buffet, and they have raw food recipes in that buffet. But the majority of the buffet, in the beginning of the buffet, is a whole bunch of sprouts and a whole bunch of greens and simple food to digest. the recipes are a little heavier to digest. So what they say when you first go there is, they say you want to fill up your plate with the greens and the sprouts. And then maybe as a little treat, you can have a little recipe on that plate. So at least 75 to 80% of your plate is just salad greens and sprouts. And then maybe a little bit of it would be a recipe or some sort. But what do people do when they go there? And I'm guilty of this too, because I think I eat salad greens and sprouts all the time. I want to eat more of a treat. They fill the majority of their plate up with the recipes, and they only take a little bit of the salad. And obviously, this is going to be an issue, and this is why they warn you against it. This creates gas in the system. I could tell you this. I don't care where you're eating, how much you're eating. If you walk into a raw food restaurant, you are going to walk out of there with gas, because raw food recipes are not properly combined. They should be used as a treat on the occasion, not the standard thing that you do every day. Now, if you're just first going raw, it's a step in the right direction, like I said. But eventually you want to get away from eating them every day. And it also make your consistency easier if you're not making those difficult recipes every day. But again, it should be like a treat or something maybe once a week, not all the time. But a raw food, I go to a raw food restaurant, I'm leaving there and I'm not feeling the best, because the food might taste good. It might be best for my taste buds, but it's not best for my stomach. As a matter of fact, go to the internet. It's hilarious. And go to YouTube and type Fart Patio. Fart Patio. It's by a group called Portlander. They made a video called Portlander about eating at a raw food restaurant and having gas afterwards. So they say every raw food restaurant should have one of these. And it's a patio where people can go and fart with a whole bunch of fans. It's pretty hilarious. So these are things that we want to think about. And especially eating dessert, which is often sweets mixed with nuts. It's just not a good combination at all. And then eating it after you've eaten something like a raw food pizza or a raw food burger, not a good idea. Sometimes people will say it's best to eat the dessert first, because there is something called sequential eating. And you can look it up online by Dr. Stanley Bass. And basically what that is not necessarily food combining by itself, but also the order the food is eating. So if you do have a meal that's not properly combined, you want to eat the things that digest the quickest first. So you would want to eat the sweets or the foods with more liquid before you eat the more dense foods. It's called sequential eating. So it's not ideally the best thing, because what the best thing would do is to eat something called mono meals, which would be eat the food by itself. For example, if I eat a banana and I'm still not satisfied, I'll eat another banana. And if I'm still not satisfied, eat another banana. And then so you're satisfied. That's called a mono meal, because you're only eating one type of food in that meal. Now, if you would switch to something like sequential eating, you might eat a banana, and then you might actually eat something first, like let's say an apple, and then if you're hungry, you eat the banana, because the apple digests quicker. But if I eat a banana and then I'm still hungry and I go to grab some nuts or seeds, not the best combination, folks, and that'll produce gas. I have to laugh because one time a raw food chef said to me, who was just becoming raw, she said, "Oh, once you're raw, you don't have gas." And I'm thinking, I'm glad she's not around me too often, because I got some gas. It's not true. The raw food diet is certainly not a panacea, as I often say, for disease, but it's definitely not a panacea for not having gas or eliminating gas. Now, it can definitely be a step in the right direction if you're doing things the right way. Dehydrated food is another thing. Dehydrated food is the most dense food you can eat. It's just as dense as cooked food. The only difference is you still have some of the enzymes if you've dehydrated at a low temperature. So dehydrated food is going to produce gas. And then again, you have the common foods. If you're eating broccoli and onions, or broccoli and garlic, or cauliflower and garlic, you are most likely going to have some bad gas. My little girl, she eats raw foods often, but she likes raw food recipes and raw food desserts. She has gas. So do I have gas? I never, wait. Oh, sorry now. I'm just kidding. No, I do have gas, but since I made that last video a couple of days ago, and more recently, I have been trying to pay attention to it. The foods I'm eating, and the times I'm eating, and all the things I mentioned, and I'm actually making a chart. I'm not writing it down, but if you have to, write it down. But I'm keeping a chart in my mind when was the last time I had gas? And I'm definitely trying not to have gas every day. And I'm definitely not trying to have gas more than once every day. And the longer I can go, I think the better I'm doing in my diet and so on. And it's something maybe you want to suggest you try. So make a gas chart if you want. And you know, it's burping, it's farting, and it's these are signs of gas. Some things that might help is exercise. The more you exercise, I know like I cannot have gas and I'm doing great, but then if I go on a rebounder, I got gas. It's shaking things up inside you. Skin brushing might help release gas where you won't have as much noticeable gas. So skin brushing can be good. Massage definitely helps the body release gas. So massaging, especially massaging the stomach. Often if I get a colonic or an enema, especially a colonic where you can see what's coming through, sometimes you'll see bubbles, and the colon therapist will say, that's just gas. It's amazing, folks, how I've been a raw food teacher for a good amount of time, and people come up to me and talk to me about their gas. That doesn't happen every day. Well, to me it does, but it doesn't happen to the average person every day where they're talking about their gas. And that's fine. If you want to email me about your gas, I'll do my best to get back to you. I can't answer all the questions, but I do my best. And if you are a member of the Raw Life Health Show, I do answer all your questions. rawlifehealthshow.com. It's a member site, so check that out. And it's a rawlifehealthshow.com. Just click on there and you can go there and check that out. All right, everybody, put your comments and questions below the video. Thanks for checking us out. And until then, have a great day and a great raw life. Gas-free, I hope.